Alright guys, I'm just putting a prediction here. Today is January 12th. Obviously Trump has gone into Venezuela, which I will say was a little surprising, but I guess kind of not. But I will say it is a little crazy. But I always say, we're in a big hole right now. So when it comes times to fixing things, you have to do some drastic steps. And I always say, like, there's no other person on the planet that I can think of that I would want making the decisions and doing the things than Trump. And it's not because I just have an unquestionable loyalty to him or anything like that. I just think that his mindset, he's great for this type of stuff. When it comes down to just getting things done, he's fantastic at it. I can't think of one other person that could really do what he does. So, as I mentioned, we're in a hole. We're in a big hole, and Trump is kind of backed into a corner to a certain degree. So, I'm not really necessarily listening to what they say, the reasons why they went into Venezuela. I look at it from a perspective of, why would someone make such a drastic decision and actually execute it? Because we're used to people, just always talking, making, threats and things like that. So I always look at certain situations like, what's the person's motivation? And usually people are motivated obviously by money and power, but given in this situation, I think the reason why I believe Trump did it was for multiple reasons, but I think the top two reasons why he did it was because I personally think the number one reason is the stolen elections. A lot of people, I'm not hearing them talk about that too much. I'm hearing more of just, stealing oil and things like that, and just, he's a crazy man and stuff like that. I don't look at it that way. So the reason why I say he's doing it because of mainly for the stolen elections is he can't lose power during the midterm elections, or I should say after the midterm elections. So I think that takes precedent over everything else, because if he doesn't prevent them from stealing elections, if you don't believe that they steal elections, probably not the video for you. Probably none of my videos are for you, but they steal elections, and it's a combat. There's actually two ways that they do it. They obviously hack into the machines, but they also need ballots. They need paper ballots. That's why the Democrats push the paper ballots so much. You have to change the numbers, and then you have to have the ballots, pretty much, at least try to come close to what they are. And then they obviously prevent the audits as much as they can. But and the reason why it's Venezuela is because the voting machines, the electronic voting machines, were made in Venezuela. The people that designed it and manufactured it, they're from Venezuela. So from my understanding, they worked with Maduro to steal elections and things like that. So I believe that we're going to have this come out pretty soon. I mean, Trump has to do it sooner than later. He's basically going to have to start talking about, securing the elections and things like that. And I think he's probably going to get Maduro to confess to it. So from the sources that I gather my information from, they said that Venezuela has been stealing the elections for about 20 years. And I believe they said 72 countries, but, and they steal them for Democrats and Republicans. So when they say that there's like rhinos, rhino is Republican in name only. It's basically what the these leftists and these these globalists, they will run a candidate that, under the Republican name, but he's really not, or she's not really a Republican. That's why you get so many people, when there's a very important a bill that needs to be voted on, there's a reason why you see it's almost always Republicans, peel off and vote with the Democrats. It's not because, they think it's the right thing to do. All these people are bought and paid for. Majority of them are. There's a few that are good ones in there. Bichette. I like the guy Bichette. I think he's from Tennessee, I believe, or maybe, I believe he's from Tennessee. He's very good. Tim Burchett. He's awesome. But I think that Trump has to make sure that they don't steal the elections, because otherwise, they're going to do all this crazy stuff that they always do. The left always destroys stuff. They never create anything. So they're going to try to impeach him and things like that and prevent him from, pursuing his agenda. So I think that's probably the top reason. And then a very, 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 very close second is the oil is, from my understanding, that was our oil. And Maduro basically, said, he took it over and was like, nope, it's ours. And from my understanding, China was going to buy oil from they were going to buy oil from Venezuela. So funny story is, if you guys haven't been paying attention to it, so there were some Chinese officials that I believe had just landed a little bit earlier in the day to discuss buying the oil. And that's when Trump went in and did what he did. And if you guys haven't heard, apparently they use some amazing technology that I think has probably been used for nefarious reasons. But they went in and just absolutely annihilated them. They only needed like 20 Americans to go in and do what they did, and they took over very, very quickly. So I think that those are the top two reasons. I believe that Russia was buying oil from Venezuela too. So the reason why Trump had to do this is China is basically trying to become this dominant force as far as like AI and things like that. So China's basically going to start really holding on to their resources. I don't know if you heard about the silver situation. Silver's starting to get very difficult. It's that's going to be another issue in itself. I'll talk about that one. That's actually kind of sad, but I think it's going to be a snowball effect. But it's basically to prevent China from running all this AI and basically, grabbing a hold of all of these resources like oil and silver and gold and all of that. So, there's basically no other choice. I'm anti-war. Trust me, I don't like it as much as the next guy, but I will say I personally think that this was very, very vital. He had to do it. And I think also, when you look at everything, they talk about the drugs. I'm sure that that's part of it as well, but I think that what they're going to be doing is that's probably the top two reasons, but I'm sure it's part of the drugs. I think that they want to try to get some of these countries that have had stolen elections. So Maduro apparently stole the election as well. Same thing, he was way behind, and then all of a sudden he's coming back. We got Joe Biden getting 81 million votes, never before and never seen again after that. 81 million. So that just goes to show you how much they had to steal by to beat Trump in 2020. So I think Trump's third election, I think he got like 77 million. So it just kind of goes to show you how much they steal it. But I think it was just basically an opportunity that they had to prevent Russia and China from basically doing business with Venezuela and basically, coming to our neck of the woods and taking resources that we really need. And from my understanding, they said that we had rights to it before. So, yeah, so I think those are the top two reasons. Drugs. The Maduro stole the election to, basically they want to, build up that country. Trump is going to build up Venezuela, but he's obviously going to use the oil money that they get from there. So it's kind of an interesting situation. But I would say there's two things. I mean, of course, I think they're definitely more of the mainstream's talking about the China aspect, but I think the number one is the stolen elections, because he has to fix these. Otherwise, it's going to ruin his presidency. I mean, what good is all of the other stuff if he's not president anymore? So, if they keep stealing it. So those are my thoughts on it. Just one thing that I try to tell people, understand that Trump is smarter than most people. He's literally, he's in a very elite group of people that, he's outperformed majority of the people that have existed on this planet. He's in that elite of a group. He knows how to negotiate. He's very successful, and I will say, man, that guy wins. I wish I could win like him. I'm the opposite. I'm the anti-Trump. I lose all the time. But yeah, so I always say, just let him do what he's doing. As long as he does like 90% of what he says, I think that's fantastic. So I don't care. I get some people who think that it's not. I'm just supporting Trump. No, I get it. I understand these smart people. They do stuff that the normies don't understand, and most people that like to share their opinion about this stuff, they're normies. They don't understand. They don't understand the mind of a guy like Trump. I don't want, like, all the people that have all their opinions. I wouldn't want them negotiating for me. I won't want them running the country. I trust Trump more than I can't think of one person that I trust more than Trump. So I'm sitting back. I'm just trying to understand what he does. I don't sit there and act like I know and he's stupid and why is he doing this? I don't ask those questions, because I know Trump has a plan, and 99.5% of the people can't even see it. They have no idea what he's trying to do. So that's my thoughts on it. As I said, please just let him do his thing. I'm telling you, there's really nothing the normies have to say that really is going to add to and help fix the country, the situation that we're in. So I always say, just if there's one thing that I say is that, it's nice to hope that Trump's going to, fix the country and all that. But at the end of the day, it's each person has to worry about themselves. We can't have this collective stuff. So just worry about yourself and just let Trump do what he's doing. I feel pretty good about being hands off. But here's one thing, I'm probably going to say this in all of my videos. Understand that there's going to be some good in this year, but there's going to be lots of bad. And I always say, be prepared that there's possibly going to be a power outage. The left is very, very scared of what Trump's doing, and they're going to try to stop him at all costs. And I don't know if you guys have been following it, but there have been power outages in the United States and in other countries. So just be prepared. But I'll make a video on my predictions, I guess a generalization on what I think is in store for 2026. All right.